very often when I'm, preparing to talk on a debate in the House here, I will look up the historic debate record on the Oireachtas website just to see what was said about the issue in the past. And, I looked up today and I was looking up, the phrase children's rights. And, as far as I could make out, the phrase children's rights wasn't really mentioned as a phrase until about 1965 when the minister at the time, Brian Lenihan Senior, spoke about children's rights in the context of the Succession Act. And, then it started to be talked about in the 1970s and in the 1990s. And I found, in the course of my searches, a debate here in the House in which Deputy Brendan Howlin participated and Deputy Michael D. Higgins on the 27th of February 1992. And of course, the Minister of State's father, David Andrews, was the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time, and the debate was about the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. And as Deputy Farrell said earlier, Ireland had ratified that convention in September 1990, but in 1992 it had been signed, but it wasn't ratified at that stage. And Deputy Howlin and Deputy Higgins and other deputies were asking the Minister for an update on when the government intended to ratify the convention, and the Minister at the time, Minister Andrews, told the deputies that the government was fully committed to ratifying the convention at the earliest possible opportunity. And he said that the views of the Attorney-General are being sought with regard to what additional measures, if any, are required to enable the government to proceed to ratification. And Deputy Higgins asked him, would he review the consequences of delaying the ratification, and your father said in response that he certainly would do what Deputy Higgins had requested. And sure enough, a few months later, the Minister, David Andrews, was able to come back and tell the House on the 7th of October 1992 that in the course of his visit to the United Nations at the end of September, he deposited with the UN Legal Council the instrument of ratification by Ireland of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and that it would enter into force in Ireland on the 28th of October 1992. So within the year he had made that progress. And, I suppose the point that I wanted to make was that there has been progress over the years, in relation to children's rights. And, it's a strain of thought that it has gone right through our history as a state, going back to the proclamation. And, I've often spoke about, the very progressive move that was made about children's allowance and universal children's allowance back in 1943, and the Labour Party supported that, and that was brought in by Minister Lemass at the time. And but I noticed yesterday when the Minister of State was speaking, he picked up on something that Adrian Hardiman had said, where Adrian Hardiman had pointed out, or his view was that the word in the proclamation, it didn't refer to children, it referred to basically it referred to the people in the nation, and that it related to minority groups and not the literal understanding of children as we may read it. Now, I actually don't agree. I mean, the thing about documents like the proclamation, they're universal documents, and I think they're open to interpretation. But I think that it's very likely that when the word children was used in the proclamation in 1916, that word wasn't used lightly. I think it was used probably to mean both all of us as children of the nation, but also to refer to children specifically. And, it brings in the term, the state will cherish the children of the nation equally. And as Deputy Pat Rabbit pointed out in a article he wrote about the proclamation a couple of years back, he said that it's the use of the word children that gives that term equally all the more power. So I think it's quite likely that the word was used by the writers of the proclamation to mean children literally, as well as all of us as children of the nation. And the thing about it is, as I said, it's a universal document, and I think people are right to interpret it in the way they do, and I don't agree with Justice Hardiman in that regard. I mean, I think we've had lots of progress. We've obviously had lots of failures, and we've seen that. We've talked about the reports, the Ryan report, the Murphy report, all of the issues that have come out of that. We know about the ill treatment and abuse and neglect of children, and we read about it in the papers, and people have made the point it's very often in the family that happens, but very often the state has a role in terms of it's not stepping in to protect the children when it should do. When you look at the women's rights and why should we make children's rights explicit in the Constitution? Well, the conclusions of the committee, I mean, I have to say I commend everybody, including Deputy Brendan Howlin and Deputy Mary O'Rourke and Deputy Alex White and Deputy Creven O'Quailon and the Minister himself and Deputy Alan Chatter. I commend everybody. And if there's anyone I left out, Deputy Mary O'Rourke, of course, as well. I recommend all of the work. It's very thorough work. When I read through it today, I can see that. And, I think the thing about this is that they set out the reasons why, that they see gaps in the Constitution, but there is a value in expressly setting out children's rights. It would inform policy. It would be to the forefront of our policy development. And, Deputy Connan there spoke about, sorry, just to finish up. The thing about putting it expressly, we have a lot of work and a lot of challenges in the future in terms of rebuilding our economy and, developing a society which is fair and equal and so on. And I think it's very important that now is the time to basically set out children's rights in the Constitution.